SafeJob is an AI-powered job preparedness platform. It is the latest edtech platform released by SafeEducate.
BFSI sector in India will need an additional 1.6 million skilled workforce by 2022.
The report says that people with the right skill set are very likely to get jobs as a service desk analyst and technicians.
The roles of logistics are to provide right product in right quantity, at the right place, at right time, in right cost to the customer.
E-commerce sites have become more popular these days, due to which demand of data entry services has increased.
Customer service executive plays a critical role in providing an interface between the customers and the client's company. There are various career options available in this industry.
It is a platform for students, by students.
This is your dost Smart Sid.
I'm Paras Narula.
My name is Varang.
You are watching SafeJob and I am your host Grace.
Be a part of the SafeJob family, because as we say, job hai to rob hai.
All right, so we are live and welcome you all. I have the participants from Chitkara University. We have 4 participants with us today. We have Colonel Rekhi with us. We have Mohit, we have Ishan and Harnoor. So guys, welcome you all to the group discussion that we would be having today. The group discussion is basically, I would just like to introduce about the grid. So the grid is the first ever virtual platform, wherein we are launching it through the SafeJob. And with the grid, we are encouraging all the students across Pan India from different colleges. They can participate in it, and they can share their views. And like you said in the beginning, this is the first ever virtual group discussion that is happening online. And at the end of the tournament, we are also going to announce the main mega who would be the national winner of our, the entire the grid. So the best part is, guys, that I welcome you all, and so I would start with step by step. So first of all, I would like a brief introduction from all of you, wherein you all can actually introduce yourself as to who we are, where we come from. And I would start with Colonel Rekhi, if you can actually help us with the same.
Good evening. Am I speaking to Mr. Stephen, please?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen, my name is Colonel KPS Rekhi. I am from the Indian Army. I have put in about 22 years of service. And I am from the infantry wing of the Army. And presently, as far as my education qualification is concerned, I have postgraduate with a master's degree in defense studies. And presently, I'm pursuing MBA in supply chain management from Chitkara University. And supply chain in particular, because this is most closely linked to our own job, that is the the general profile that we conduct in the Army. So this is a very closely linked job with what we do in the Army. And that's it.
So thank you so much. So moving on to Mohit. So if you can, just help us out.
So thank you for the opportunity. And it's all my pleasure to having great personalities like Colonel Sir and you as well. So, sir, basically, I have done a BCA from Chitkara University itself, and I was in the testing field of the IT department in many of the several companies, like Basware, I was there. After that, Visionary One was the company, and after that, Chitkara University's ERP Chalkpad. In that, I was a junior quality analyst. So this was all about my experience, and currently, I'm just changing my complete career into supply chain management and logistics, because many of the opportunities I have seen in this field, and it was very interesting as well as upcoming and booming field. So this was all about me, sir.
All right, great. So, Harnoor, next is you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harnoor Singh. I am from Jabalpur. Presently, I am pursuing MBA in Supply Chain and Logistics with Chitkara University. Before this, my undergraduation have been in Mechanical Engineering from Rajiv Gandhi University. That's it. Thank you.
All right, short and brief. So, moving on to Ishan.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Ashan, and I was born and raised in Raipur, Chhattisgarh. Currently, I'm pursuing my MBA in Supply Chain Management in Chitkara. Before this, for graduation, I did my BCom, and as a freelancer, I worked around with a startup as well for a while. And this seems like a great opportunity. Thank you.
Great. So, thank you so much for all the panelists for introducing yourself, and let us straight away dive into the main thing. So, with respect to the GD today, the topic of the GD is the effects of COVID-19 on jobs across India. So we all understand that because of this pandemic, we are actually having all sorts of news everywhere, wherein unemployment is at its peak, to be very more, or probably even if I say at its peak, that would be incorrect. But at the same point in time, I would like to just understand as to what exactly are your views. So I would like to start with Hanu. So what would you say? What are your beginning thoughts to it?
I think that the current situation has given us a new opportunity. Rather than looking at the negative side that we cannot step away from our home and we have to do everything staying within our home territory, we should look it in a way that now new ways of working have been came across us. Like, I think none of us have used Zoom or Google Meet before, and we were neither even wanting. We didn't feel it would be comfortable for using. We always felt that talking physically in face to face would be more effective. But now we all have experienced that even this is very good alternative. And in future, when this situation will get normalized, still this alternative will be used very much. The online platform.
So I would actually, okay, so this is an interesting point. So he is actually going with the pros,
Yeah.
not really the cons. Okay. So what would, Colonel Ricky, what would you say, sir, over here?
I would say that at the face of it, this pandemic undoubtedly has had far-reaching effects in almost all the sectors. I don't really see that there is any particular sector which has been untouched by the effects of pandemic. And I also feel that these were quite unthought of. Like in one of the presentations, I heard that this particular situation is called the black swan situation, which was probably one of the worst situations, and nobody could have actually foreseen this. And when it came with such devastating effects that the business didn't really have time to kind of survive, and or could have prepared for some kind of contingencies. But at the same time, all of this, it seems, has come with a positive effect also. And the positive side, what I feel is that maybe what the world is talking about is that a lot is going to happen with respect to the manufacturing sector shifting from China towards India. That is what people feel and they talk about in the social media. I don't really know until what extent is it really going to happen. But as a layman, or as a man in the ordinary domain, what I feel is that certainly some part of the business is going to shift. That is number one. Number two is that China undoubtedly has taken a lot of beating. In the world market, what I personally feel is that the products of which were manufactured or supplied by China are undoubtedly taking a lot of beating, and people have started viewing all of this very suspiciously. It may be, let's talk about something as new as the PPE kits, or as new as the COVID-19 kits to detect the coronavirus presence, even these kits have been found to be faulty, not only in India, but in a number of other countries. So somewhere the standing of China has suffered a lot. Besides that, America, it seems, has taken a personal vengeance against China, and I'm sure it is going to push a lot of companies because most of these manufacturing sector companies are based in America, and the American administration certainly is going to push these companies to maybe other countries in and around China or in the Asian region to shift their bases to these countries. This was the second point. Third point, what I feel is that what we call about the disruptive technology, what we call about the Zoom platform or the Google Meet and such like platforms, Skype, etc. These platforms have certainly opened a number of doors. Where people today can say with conviction that certainly we can work from home. It is not impossible to for 50% of the workforce to be working from XYZ place and not physically coming to their offices. And certainly somewhere this is going to lead to a big boom in the information technology business also. And I believe that in the coming age, internet is going to play a big role. And besides that, I also feel there are certain other fields like maybe pharma, maybe agriculture, IT, of course, I've said. These are some of the fields which are the future. And of course, not to miss the e-commerce or maybe to some extent the supply chain, which is essential for be it raw materials or be it medicines or essential commodities. All of this is going to be the future of business in the world in times to come.
So certain good points. Two specifically of those points are really something which is really being a big hype in the market. So one of them is rightly mentioned. So many of the companies which were out there in China, they are now this is becoming a hot topic wherein we are seeing the few big brands would probably are venturing their options into India. And coming to that point, so Ishan, what would you say? Do you really think that all the companies would really feel, because at the end of the day, we also have to understand that though India is competitive, they are also looking at different aspects. You can't really completely rely on just straight away shifting an entire big company or a base from one location to altogether to a new one. So what would you have to say on that?
Yes, sir. Being a layman, as I've been following the situation, there have been certain trends where people have been estimating that a lot of companies would be shifting to India. But in my opinion, I am yet to see the wide-scale effects of it. There have been certain government policies that have claimed that they would maybe help bring in more manufacturing jobs to our country, and a lot more companies would be shifting their bases here. Some major, more publicized events were iPhone maybe shifting some of its manufacturing to India other than China. And obviously, some Indian government policies and some relation issues between US and China that have been going on, they have been shifting the situation. But as a recent report, it said that a lot of manufacturing actually went to Indonesia and Taiwan. So India is not exactly, it's not exactly coming out as a opportunist winner in this situation. I don't think so. But other than that, the situation is pretty adverse as of right now. I think there have been some certain positive shifts in our society, especially as it pertains to social and cultural norms, maybe following a queue, for example, which was not exactly prevalent in India. Maybe people would be much more cautious of not invading other people's private spaces in terms of maintaining a social distance. And those things might happen. There might be some positive aspects that might come of this, but I am actually a bit of a pessimist when it comes to the situation that's going to be happening with the jobs due to the corona crisis.
Right. So again, coming. So Mohit, I would say so. So Mohit, you there? You still with us? Hello.
Yes.
Okay, I believe we are having
I'm
something.
here, sir.
Oh, you're there. Okay. So,
Can you hear me, sir?
yeah, I can. So,
Yes, sir.
Mohit, coming straight away to you, with these interesting things, we do understand that, as Ishan rightly said, you can't really vouch on, when you see the bigger picture that the companies are straight away coming and hopping into India, and at the same point in time, you will have a sudden rise in job with respect to the same. So, what do you say? Would it really happen as per you, or or do you have like some other point of views towards the same?
Okay. So actually, I would like to say that maximum and the mostly points are covered by the Colonel Sir Hanur as well as Ishan.
Mhm.
So the left part I will cover what I just think about it. So this pandemic has just outtaken the China in very different manner, sir. Because China is a second largest economy in the world. So they are trying to compete with America. So it's like a cold war. It's going on right now with America and China. So they are competing with each other. So with the losses of the lives in the America, it has outtaken the America very most. So right now, the angriness of the Americans or the US president is just coming as a frustration in every of the decisions as well. And I can say I will also support it as well, because yes, it's true that the virus has been just originated from the China, and yes, it has been uh, spreaded as well with a bad behavior, I can say. So this has taken a world into another level of kind of a cold war is there, and many of the news channels are also showing that yes, there might be chances of World War III. So in this norm, sir, India is getting a good uh, benefit of it, but sir, not the most, because of some of the rules and regulations for the labors and the companies and working capitals in India. So that's why Indonesia and Vietnam is getting some of the more advantages above than the India for the companies for manufacturing and other things as well. So in future, I think yes, India has a great part of it, and in becoming a sixth member of UN, so it will be a great opportunity for India. But yes, in future there has to be some of the flexibilities in rules and regulations, as well as the profitability and the taxes as well, so that the other companies can easily initiate in India and have a good response, as well as India will be also getting a good benefit of it, and the more employment sector will be generated in India. So this was all about what I think so.
But this is something interesting. Yeah, Colonel Rekhi, I was actually coming to you on this one. So the thing that I remember you mentioned work from home at the same point in time, wherein we all are working from home. A majority of the sectors have actually done that, but not necessarily every single sector is capable of doing so. So what would you say, sir, Colonel Rekhi?
Sir, please allow me to just put my 1 or 2 points across in the previous point that we were discussing. I thought before we close that point
Absolutely.
about what are the pros and cons of companies coming to India. Lots been spoken about it in the social media as well. So what I feel is, sir, that these companies do view things a bit suspiciously when it comes to investing big time in India, uh, probably because of the reputation that we have built over a period of time. In India, undoubtedly there is a lot of red tapeism. There is bureaucratic red tapeism in our country. There is a classical case of Tata investing heavily for the nano project in West Bengal, and then that suddenly the whole project was shifted out of that state, and maybe some good sense prevailed in Gujarat, and then the entire project went there. When a company, a corporate like Tata is held in this way within the country, it undoubtedly gives a lot of bad signal across to all the big guns in the world. So this has happened in the past, there's no doubt. But there is a positive lining. I was just going through one of the reports recently, which says that India, when it comes to ease of doing business in India, our ranking, if I'm not wrong, it has gone up from I think from 57 to 44 or something like that. Offhand, what I recollect is it's gone up 12 to 14 notches. So what it implies is that undoubtedly the government has registered this point, and they have worked upon it, and that is how our ranking has gone up. So so a lot is being thought about it and being done centrally also. That is one. Second thing is that uh, there is no denying the fact there is cheap labor available in our country, uh, and I think we can beat the best in the world when it comes to maybe lowering the cost of production. I feel that people are working towards it. And besides that, one strong point is that we have a stable government in the center. So all of these factors are, supportive enough for people to take a decision for investing in our country. So these are some of the pros and cons. And besides this, what I also feel is that when we talk about the pharma sector, uh, there is a lot of medicine that is being supplied free of cost by our country to so many nations across the world. This all is part of a bigger strategy. And the bigger strategy, what I feel is, in times to come, there are a number of companies which I keep hearing, that companies which are producing these PPE kits, ventilators, face masks, sanitizers, and such like things, which are applicable in the present scenario, which are subsequently going to be sold in the world market. And who's going to buy them are these countries which have initially been given a boost by giving them free medicine. So what is happening is that we are paving the way for the pharma to get a leap in these times, in the times to come. Historically, if we look back, there was a time in the early 2000 when the IT sector suddenly emerged. And I was just listening to Mr. Krish Krishnan in one of the interviews recently. And what I often recollect is that it's probably a $150 billion industry which has emerged out of the blue in our country, the entire of software industry. So that was the time when software got a boom. Thereafter came the real estate. And now in the times ahead, pharma sector undoubtedly is going to open up big time. Besides this, I also see that defense production is another area which is going to get a big time leap. And besides that, the government's policy of this vocal for local, this also is going to open up a massive manufacturing within the country. So this is as far as the previous point is concerned. Can you just come to the points which you had just said?
Yeah, so I was actually, just asking with respect to the same. Apart from all these points, when we talk about, work from home, and at the same point in time, we talk about, unemployability to a certain level of scale. So my point was that, what do you think as to would this work from home really be, a strategy changer probably in the future, or do you still think that, probably this is just a part thing which is there, and probably, we are not really looking for a long time?
Right, I got your point, sir. The point is that is work from home just a makeshift arrangement, or is it going to stay in the long term? What I personally feel is that in the given scenario, the entire focus of the corporate was to somehow push the cart once again. The entire industry had come to a halt suddenly, abruptly, and now the endeavor is to at least restart the process once again. At the same time, I also don't deny the fact that we are a manufacturing country. We are basically we are manpower intensive, we are labor intensive, and our industry undoubtedly needs the working hands, which have to be. You talk about textile, you talk about pharma, or any kind of production. It is all a manpower based industry. So to say that we are going to work in this scenario like this for maybe next 3 years and reach some place, it will not be fair to conclude that assumption. And we certainly are a manpower intensive nation, and our industries have evolved in such a way, so we need the manpower. To talk about the strategic level, or the decision making ability, or the management level, certainly 50% of them working from home can still move the cart. But when it comes to the production per se, undoubtedly, the major part of the population is involved in some form of the production. It may be labor intensive, it may be small scale industry or MSMEs or whatever. They need those working hands to be present inside the production unit. So as a long term measure, certainly this is not going to work.
Right. So, Handur, coming back to you, I remember you said that you're in the pro section of the
Yes,
thing.
sir.
When I say, there were some really valid points, what would you have to say with respect to the same? Because there's
Sir.
one, I would just like to add to this that as we really ventured with respect to the labor part of the India, which is like a big part of India. When we talk about the bottom level, so they can't really. We still are having this the debate with respect to unemployability, and then we are able to see how the bottom level is badly impacted. So what would you say? What's your say on this?
So I completely agree with this point that majority of our population is involved in manufacturing sector, and I also agree that that thing cannot be done by the help of online platform. You need to be physically present in order to complete your manufacturing process. Uh, so sir, yeah, that's one point. But if you talk about level higher to that, the people working with MNCs, graduates, MBA graduates like us, for them this definitely will be a good alternative to use. If you are not able to be physically present in the meeting or somewhere, so they will be surely using this, which they were also using. Like when I gave interview for a few companies after my graduation, so this point was always put across by them that we will be giving you this option to work online and work from home if you won't be able to be present physically in the office. So this thing was there, but now due to this our practice with this online platform since past 2 or 3 months have made us more comfortable with this. So this particular sector, the MNC sector, will be using this on a more higher level. But yes, I agree with Colonel sir that the manufacturing sector, they won't be able to use it up to the level we can.
So, so everyone is actually agreeing to you, Colonel Rekhi. I believe that everyone, is actually from the pros is now going into the cons now slowly and steadily. But Ishan, what would you say if I talk about, as Hanur said that there are two sides of the picture. One, we are talking about the MNCs, and the other we are talking about the labor, or probably the other main, I would actually say the main sector of India, which is actually the labor side. So what would you say when I talk about the unemployability and focusing on all these areas rather than just focusing on this the two parts of the story?
Yes, sir. I do agree with them in some aspects, but I think that maybe I would say that they are kind of underestimating the shift towards work from home. I suspect that it would be a much larger part of our working environment in the future. Obviously, India is much more of a manufacturing country. A lot of our workforce is in those sectors, and the informal sector as well, laborers, they form a huge part of our workforce. But I would say that services are also a huge part of our economy. I think they were about 60, it was about 60% of our GDP, something like that, the services sector. And yeah, sure, the MNCs like Twitter have said that they might allow working from home for the rest of their lives if the employees wish. But Indian companies such as TCS, they've also said that they would consider moving towards moving 50% of their workforce on work from home, which would also help them reduce their expenses, because commercial real estate can be quite tough on a company. But unemployability, I mean, based on latest reports from ILO and some such, they claim that we are looking at a massive job crisis in the future. Actually, the chief of International Labour Organization, he recently said that retail and wholesale workers, it's about to lose about 480 million jobs or something like that in the near future. It is going to be a huge struggle for us. And if you look at the responses of the governments, obviously, I would say that America has fallen short of expectations, what needs to be done to combat the crisis. And India, it's like the results are still to come, but like the stimulus package, I don't suppose that it would be enough to combat the crisis. I think the job crisis is going to be much more, we are going to be much more impacted by it. The fiscal stimulus, I think, was about 1 to 2% of the GDP, which falls short of the expectations. So yeah, I don't suppose that we are going to like be unscathed, but yeah, working from home for teachers and service sectors, that is going to be a huge part of our workforce.
Right. So, just coming to the closing points on the same. So, Mohit, I will just like to, I'll just gather some closing points from all of you. So, just for, with respect to Mohit, what would you say when I, talk about how do you see your future in the coming day? With now, when we are actually agreeing to the fact that, COVID-19. We have to live with it. You can't really deny with the fact that it's straight away going to go away. But at the same point in time, we have the other side of the picture, wherein if you simply think about COVID-19, it's definitely a very dangerous aspect, when we can't work together. We can't stay together. We can't really, focus on, sitting together in the office, sipping tea together. No longer is that, same ambience which is there. So what do you think? What would be the culture? What do you think about the future ahead? Some closing thoughts on the same.
Sure, sir, sure. So I got all the points from the Colonel, sir, as well as the good points from Harnoor, and even the very clear points from the Ishan as well, sir. So what I understand with their points, that yes, it's a kind of situation right now we have to deal with, and it's just a need of time what we have to restrict to it. That yes, right now we have to restrict to the online platforms and all of the things which are need to be done. And yes, the service sector and all of the other things which are moving smoothly on the online platforms, it's very good to go on with it. And as well as, sir, I can say that yes, it will in future, it will become a lifestyle, or some of the changes in the lifestyle of the people as well, working sector as well. Yes, manufacturing sector is the different one which needs to be a physical presence is required. But yes, except that in service sector or any of the other companies, MNCs, there will be some of the modifications as well. Like, so if just my assumption is there, like in future you will be getting 4 days office in a week, and 2 days of working from home. You will be getting a kind of changes that, and Sunday you will be having your rest. And if you plan any of your weekends or any of the traveling as well as, so online you will be virtually present for any of the solutions or the problems if occurs for the company, or as well as for any of the sectors. So you will be virtually present for that, and rescuing all those problems in the favor of the company as well as the organization as well. So it will be a favorable thing in future, that yes, we should adapt a needed thing, or the lifestyle will be there in future for the online platforms as well. And yes, sir, it's kind of thing, I think, yeah, like we will be adapting these kind of things for our easiness, sir. Like if we feel easy to, yes, we are working from home, like we are sick today, so I will not be physically present in the office. But yes, if I'm comfortable with working from home, there will be not an issue with any of the senior level or any of the management with that, so that they can rectify all these little problems to gain the maximum profit out of it.
Okay, so I'll just quickly go to Harnoor,
Yes, sir.
because we have limited time. So sorry. So Harnoor, just your closing thoughts when you're looking forward to having a future with respect to a job in now the COVID, with the COVID-19 being a pandemic in India, now being a part of it.
Yes, sir.
So what do you think? Where exactly would you see your future, and how exactly would you plan it in a
So,
different way?
first of all, I would just like to say that alternative comes with respect to situation. Like we were talking about manufacturing sector. So right now it's just 2 or 3 months of this lockdown and holding being closed up, but gradually hope so this doesn't happen and we soon recover this COVID thing and we can find alternatives and everything comes back to as normal as it was. But even if it does not get normal, say after 1 year or so, people are smart enough to find their own alternatives. If they are not getting the opportunity to work in manufacturing sector, they will find something or else through which they can earn themselves a living.
So, Ishan, coming to the closing thoughts from your end. So, when Hanu says that we always find a way out with respect to trying to know where to go and what even in this tough situation, which I somehow agree with Hanu because that's what we are built with. But what would you say? How where exactly do you think that we are actually heading, or what exactly would be the next trend that we are looking up to?
Yes, I would also agree with Arnoon in that aspect. Obviously, like I said, there are going to be massive job losses, and it is going to be a reality. But we will somehow find a way out of it because that's what we do, and that's what we've done in the past. As it comes,
And where do you think that you can actually see that there is a safe haven ahead? How would you say that?
safe even ahead in terms of for the country as a whole.
So basically, when we talk about jobs in India, where do you see yourself as a probably a safe haven sort of a thing?
Yeah, I'm not really sure right now. Obviously, it would depend on the situation. It changes day by day. Like the pharma sector is on a bull run right now. If you look at the stock prices, so yeah, it depends on the situation. Maybe we would move to being a much more service. We would move to the service sector a bit more. I'm not really sure how it's going to play out in the future. But as it comes to my personal career or the careers of my fellow panelists here, I would say that we, like right now, we've just been selected for internships that are work from home. Like when we got the job description, it said location work from home. That's what the right. So yeah, the companies will figure out some way to maybe train us in that aspect, and then maybe following social distancing or maybe using a less workforce divided by the day. Maybe they would figure out some way to do that as it comes to the logistics sector.
Right, and I'll just I'll quickly go to Colonel Rekhi, sir. Just last thought from your end. So where do you think, sir, that going ahead, what could be probably something that we should actually focus on in this specific area? What could be certain things that we should actually look into, specifically the youth?
Right. Absolutely. Sir, after listening to all the panelists and, I just wanted to clarify one aspect. We may be talking about work from home is in a lot of news these days. But, if you talk about facts, what is the corporate sector or what is the kind of the companies that are working in India? There may be IT. There is this vast manufacturing sector which has the industrial production, sports production, sports goods. Then there's this pharma, there's agriculture, there is space technology, there's an informal sector. Then there is a whole lot of services from travel to tourism to hospitality and etc. etc. And if you talk about work from home, maybe it applies to some extent to maybe IT, or maybe to some extent to certain parts of the other segments of the industry. But it doesn't apply as a whole or as a template just about everywhere. It doesn't happen that way. What now in the emerging scenario, what I feel is that work from home is something that it has just started. It is not even evolved properly. So maybe it becomes a norm in the times to come. Maybe only God only knows. But to my understanding, we are certainly going to go ahead with the way things were earlier. There are going to be certain protocols which will change in India. They were being followed by the countries abroad. Social distancing has always been there in almost all the European countries. You may stand in a queue to board a bus or a train. They follow social distancing. Here we have a different kind of scenario. So social distancing is certainly going to be followed just about everywhere. let's see till what extent it is followed. Masks, sanitizers, these are the in things. Maybe to some extent, what will happen is that medical assistance will be kept readily available. There will be a paramedic team which will be kept in every production unit or wherever there is manpower, intensive jobs involved. And I also feel that we are going to work out a scenario where projects will be given to what was being done to these people. The projects will be given to people that they can take it home and work over the project, and then maybe once in a week come and submit the project. These kind of certain things may evolve.
All right. So
then
I'm so sorry. I'm just going to cut you short on the same, Colonel Ricky, so because we are out of time. But apart from that, I would like to thank you all for actually, becoming a part of the grid and, sharing your views over the same. I actually heard some, some really good points with respect to, how we are going ahead and how we are handling things, and, certain things that I really liked with respect to this thing, which was a little motivating, that irrespective of whatever is happening at the moment, we shouldn't really be, scared or nervous, which we are at the moment. And, they say, abhi humne kaha ki it's in our blood, we are going to come out of it. So, that's something that's really motivating. And Colonel Ricky had some wonderful points at the same note.
And sir, if you allow me, let me just put across one last point.
Yeah.
Our politicians and our leaders have been very innovative tackling of environmental problems.
Mm-hmm.
And what I feel is that this all-even formula, somehow it's there in my mind that this is going to get applied at least for next 2 years. When it comes to jobs, it comes to the workplace, it comes to schools, universities. Somehow this odd-even formula is going to fit in all these scenarios, at least for next 2 years.
Sure. So definitely we're looking forward to it. So once again, thank you so much to all of you for taking time out and being a part of the grid today. Ishan, Colonel Reiki, Bohit, Ardur, thank you so much for your time. And I would actually say that in order to we would actually have a quick discussion with respect to as to who is the winner of the GD today. And I would also say that share it amongst your social media platforms, share it on your timeline, so that because the 50% aggregate is there as well, wherein the person who receives more comments and more likes, the weightage actually slightly diverts over there. So once again, coming to the conclusion, thank you once again to all of you guys, and it was a wonderful experience, having a good discussion with all of you. So stay safe and stay at the same point in time sharp, and looking forward to meet you guys again.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. It was good interacting with you.
Thank you. Take care.
It was a good time, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.